Aquatic ruin. I'm going to do as big of a spin dash as possible at the start here. That pillar doesn't come up at the start like it does for Sonic. Once you're at this section, jump, glide, stop on here, spin dash again. There's two different things you can do here. I think it may be slightly faster to jump on top of the loop like this. Oh, well, there is this Zergriff's method of jumping into the loop here, jumping out of that spot into the ground, so you're zipping slightly in the loop, and then you can actually roll and get zipped at massive speeds across the level from that point, but it's very slightly faster in general, and really difficult to make happen. But I'll link Zergriff's supplement for like the really advanced stuff that I started learning, but I am also going to mention them in this. But for the ones which I don't bother using because they're either too small of a time save or too finicky, they'll be in there as well. So yeah, there's kind of three routes you can do here. You can go in the loop if you get that perfect jump angle. You have to do a really fast spin dash in order for this to work to get above the loop here. You can go above the loop, which saves time going around the loop. You want to, if you're still going fast enough, you can run straight off there and you want to land on top of this log. If you're not going fast enough on top of the loop, you stop as soon as you get on it, do like a 3-tap spin dash off of it. And it's kind of random whether that slope, whether that downward slope will send you downwards at an angle that will go into the log, or an angle that will go on top of the log. Hopefully you go on top of the log. Like that. See, it's just kind of random whether it happens. If you do run to the end of the log, jump and glide stop on here, and then that's where the paths meet up, so I'll go back and show the other ones. If the... oh, that was interesting. If the slope sends you at an angle downwards that goes into the log, you have a very precise window to jump coming out of the log that will get you over that pillar, but not too early because you can't jump when you're over here. You can't jump all the way until you're like over here. And if you do a full jump there, you can just make it to the same spot, and then if you glide as you are on the, as you're just kind of under that grass, it kind of clips you back onto it, like that. And then the final thing is you can just avoid all that bullshit entirely and go around the loop like a normal person. So from here you spin dash, hold right, go around the loop, do a loop jump over there. You can either just hold right up here and land on the log and go, which is the easy way. Or you can, once you come out of the loop and you're over here, you can jump. You'll have to glide stop on this spot, otherwise you'll bonk into this, bonk into the log or start running through the log. So you can glide stop there, and then jump and glide stop on the log and spin dash again and stop there. Or you can just bonk into the log, jump up onto the log, spin dash again and stop there. There's a million different ways of doing this. They're all a tiny bit different. Or just try and mention them all. It really doesn't matter very much, so well, that's nice. If you accidentally fall down here, you want to spin dash up this slope and use that slope jump to get back up there. That was too early of a jump. Use this slope jump like that to get back up there. Then you can either glide back to the right, or come from that way again. Anyway, so from here, I want to do as fast of a spin dash as possible again. Hold right. If your spin dash is fast, you'll be less likely to be sprung by this springboard. If you get sprung by the springboard, it's really annoying. It will spring you up slowly. You will have to... let's see if I can make it do it. Yeah, you'll have to notice that it's happened. Glide stop on the ground about here will be the place where it's about to sprung you to. Turn around and spin dash again and carry on. Otherwise, you'll just get to go over that springboard without being sprung by it. You might be now in a running animation instead of rolling animation, which means you need to roll just before you got to this enemy here, because it'll be in the way. You'll be rolling through here. Hold right at this point as soon as you start rolling. And we're looking for a particular spot. There's a couple of different places you can jump here to make this easier / faster. The one I look for, I might need other people to add in their own ones here because I don't know all of them specifically. The one I look for is here, so you can see it's really tough to see the actual grass that I'm standing on under the foreground foliage. But right at the peak, you can see the ground starts descending in a downward slope here, but right at the peak of the ground, just before that, there's a 1-frame window to jump that will get you all the way, that was 1 frame late, all the way to this speeches box that we're looking for. There we go. That will land you on the speeches box, then you want to bounce off that, land up here, jump over these platforms, and I'll get to that in a second. Otherwise, if you jump slightly early, you can land, can't do it early on purpose now. If you jump slightly early, you can land on these fish, jump onto this. The important thing with these speeches is if you collect them and then fall back into the water line again, you no longer have speeches. It's really dumb. I don't know why that happens. But yeah, if you fall into the water with speeches, you lose them. But don't do that, I guess. If your bounce is too low off this box and you're about to fall into the water, you can just grab onto the wall as Knuckles here, and then climb up. And then the final one you can do, you can actually roll down the slope and then jump about here into the speeches. That's a Super Boom fan method as far as I know. Trying to shout out different people's methods that I haven't seen before. You have to hold down over that section to roll through the second fish without getting hit, and then jump here. I did not know you could just click through that box. Hit the speeches box. Jumping out of the water doesn't lose your speeches, but just landing in it does. See, that's the different methods. You can also go for a jump which will land on this fish, bounce off it, and then land on the speeches. There's different ways of doing it. The fastest one is to get that frame perfect one all the way onto the speeches box. When you bounce off the speeches box, you can either bonk into the terrain just after it, which means you can hold right and land on this section here, or you can not clip the corner and bounce off the speeches box, go all the way over to about here, hopefully land on one of these platforms, because if you don't, you'll land it in this water and these speeches. But with that bounce, the fastest way is to go all the way over here, land on one of these platforms and carry on. If one of these platforms is on a particularly high cycle like this, and you're running across them with speeches, you will actually run into this pillar and bonk there, at the top of the pillar, where the wall actually still is. Which is not what we want, because we need to be running fast enough for this section to get the next jump. So if you know you're about to do that, you want to actually time your jump over here, so that you actually avoid all of the platforms. Some kind of angle like that, almost. So you land just down the right side of these platforms, apparently. Right. Then the spot you're looking while running at full speed with speeches up here, you can see the two angles of ground I'm running on behind the foreground foliage again. This is a steeper slope here. You see the steeper slope starts about there if you follow its angle down. As soon as the steeper slope starts, that's what you're looking for. You have like a two frame window maybe to make this correct angle. And you want to actually hold left slightly as you hit that angle. If you don't hold left, you will run into the path switcher here. The path switcher won't have switched, and you'll actually be stuck behind this pillar, not being able to run through this section here. And if that happens, you can either get a jump like that and go like this onto the top of here and carry on, or you'll have to go from here, just jump over this and fall down. Oh, the path switch is working, so it's not going to let me fall down, but you have to fall down behind this pillar, dip back down to that lower route, and then on that lower route, so if you hit this, I tried to do it on purpose there and missed it. If you hit this like this, so you can't get through this pillar, you're running into a path switcher because it hasn't switched properly, jump back down here, jump onto the red spring and hold down to roll through that guy so you don't get hit by that guy. And then you want to jump out of this at about this spot so you go back onto the higher path. And then right at the end here, roll and jump off that slope, you get a little speed boost for doing a slope jump downwards off there. And hold right to the end. I think that's everything. You can hit a lower route actually. If you end up going this way and you miss this and you're going along this lower route, you really don't want to fall on that because that's slow. But you can, if you know that you're coming along this lower route, you can just jump at this point and get over that. Right, luckily this level is very different, so from the very start, do as fast as a spin dash as possible. You want to jump about here, or quite near the end of here, do a tap jump, and you'll land on this platform. Oh, if you started when the level actually started, because these platforms start moving from the very start of the level, so if you spin dash immediately at the very start, you want to do a tap jump right near the end there, you'll land on this one, you jump off that one immediately, and glide slightly late. So with glide mechanics, I haven't mentioned, if you glide faster, you descend less. So let's say if I jump and then glide at my peak of my jump, that'll be the highest I can maintain my height while gliding. If I jump and start descending slightly and then glide, I actually lose loads of height because I still keep that descending momentum before the glide levels out. So every small amount of time you wait while gliding and your jump is descending, well, before gliding and your jump is descending, you actually lose loads of height. So gliding early will keep the most height. There's more stuff to mention in a minute, but I'll mention that at the big glide in a minute. So tap jump there, jump into that platform, glide into this guy. You actually, for that glide, it helps to wait a tiny bit so that your glide does do that descend. So you land on here, go onto that, spin dash, jump off here. Hopefully you get a good slope jump. So every little slope, you might be able to see in the ground, all of these slopes affect your jump heights, these micro slopes here. You want to jump off an upward slope or a flat, neutral bit of ground. And that'll work for getting over here. We'll just be holding right all through these springboards, these two springboards. When you're at the end of this, jump and glide. You want to glide very quickly there so you don't lose any height. So jump and glide straight onto this. You'll land here, and in order to get enough height off here, you want to do one jump and then another jump with the momentum that you just gained coming back down off that jump. At the peak of the slope, you want to do it while the slope is still on a slightly upwards hill here, which gets you a slightly higher jump because you need your jump to be as high as possible landing on this box. And we're going to do a super glide. So for this, you want to glide either 1 or 2 frames just before landing on the box, wasn't it? There we go, and you gain a load of height by bouncing off the box as you glide. And depending on exactly the height of your jump coming off of this slope and landing on the box, and exactly what frame you glided on just before landing on the box, you want to, if you glide too early, it'll look like this and you'll have a really low glide. The goal is to glide all the way to the end of the level at this point, so you want your glide to be pretty high. That's a low one, but let's just see how low we can make it work with. So yeah, if you're quite close to these rings, which is what this is, so the difference is quite small. This is fairly low to the rings. You can be like 1 knuckles height above this point and be high enough. And you can actually be too high at this point, in which case you'll need to tap left to slow down in the glide and then tap right to start moving again. Right, with a really high glide like that, you'll be absolutely fine going past these rings. You can't even see the rings on screen there, so actually I want to slow down a tiny bit by tapping left and then going back to the right. So you get to this point where the platforms are. Where are they? Here they are. So if you're too high, you'll see that you'll end up touching this top platform and running along it and then ending your glide. The longer a glide goes on for, the faster you increase your speed to. It keeps increasing the longer the glide goes for, so you want this glide to last for the whole time to move across the level as fast as possible. If you're too low here, you'll come down at this angle and you'll be walking across this platform, or this grassy ground down here. If that happens, you can wait until you're at the end of this grassy ground and do a jump and another glide and carry on with the same rate gliding from there. Again, if your glide is too high, you're going to hit this hidden pillar up here. So you want to make sure that your glide is low enough to clear the bottom of this pillar without bonking into it. And then you would have glided across the entire level. Now I use background cues in order to try and land on the boss as he spawns. So once you're past this highest mountain in the background, you need to look at the foreground, the foliage moving in the foreground here. You'll see this gap in this foliage. After you pass the mountain, you see this gap. When this gap comes across level with the mountain, so at this point, then you hold left. And this window will change a tiny bit depending on your exact speed of your glide. Whether you had to wait for longer in the air by tapping left to slow down and go back to the right, because then your glide will be a tiny bit faster because you've been gliding for a tiny bit longer. But this is the average place where you want to hold left and let knuckles drop, so let go of A to drop the glide. And you will see the boss spawn and hopefully land on him. I did not quite land on him by just like a pixel there, annoyingly. So you'll bounce off the top of the boss, because you're invulnerable currently, luckily you'll bounce off the top of the boss, and then you want to bounce to the left and land on the far left-hand side of the screen, because these pillars will be rising and you want to be on top of the left-hand pillar. So let's see if I can... The backup route for this level, if you fall all the way down at the start, can also just be the sonic route for this level, which you can go and see a Sonic tutorial for, I guess. I guess the one jump down there, there's a difficult jump. Oh, I just bumped the pillar, no. There's a difficult jump down there, which Knuckles' jump height will probably make a slightly different window, but I'm not going to cover that one because this is not like a difficult route to go for. Oh, here we go, I can demonstrate being too low here. So I'm too low, I'm going to jump off there, wait a little bit and glide again. then I'm going to do the same thing, except instead of being on top of the boss because I'm too low now, I'll wait till I'm past this, halfway past this big mountain. The camera will lock, I'm holding left, so I'll turn around and I'll just glide back through him and then land on the left hand side. So whether you've bounced off him and landed on this pillar, or glided through him and landed on this pillar, we then turn around, spin dash, and hit him every time he's vulnerable. Up until he dies. There is a frame perfect kill you can get, where if he's swinging the hammer over here on the exact same frame, if he starts swinging the hammer on the exact same frame that you get the last hit on him, he flies off the screen super fast, all the animals start exploding, and you save 3 seconds. It's absolutely crazy. And since you're Knuckles on this level, and you've come from the very top, you can actually look up on this capsule and it saves RTA time. Doesn't help for in-game time, but just in case. Marathon time or something. Looking up on this capsule despawns the animals faster. And of course you can roll infinitely if you roll into a corner on the aquatic rune, so that's great too.